150 people killed, thousands and thousands of people injured, children being slaughtered, ambulance staff and journalists attacked. And that's why we're here to say that the Israeli military and the Israeli government must be held to account. Held to account for their disproportionate use of live fire, their use of tear gas, their artillery, their airstrikes against innocent civilian protesters. And we're also here to say this is not the time simply to call for restraint, as the Foreign Office did last night. Today is the time to demand a full and independent investigation. Today is the time to demand President Trump stops emboldening the Israeli government with his provocative move of the US Embassy. Today is the day to pledge that we will be on these streets when Trump visits to make our views very loud and very clear. But friends, today is also the time to call out war crimes and to impose sanctions. And it is also time for the British government to stop trading arms that can be sold and used by the Israeli military against civilians.
Kharja, friends and comrades, Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of Sinn Féin, may I extend our solidarity and our sympathy to the people of Palestine. What happened in Gaza yesterday was a brutal atrocity. There can be no other way to describe it. Dozens of unarmed murdered by the Israeli army, with many more thousands injured, bringing the total number of killings since these protests began to well over 100. The brutality of the fascist Israeli army is once again laid bare for the world to see. The Palestinian people need our solidarity now more than ever, as this could well be one of the bloodiest episodes in the tragic history of the Palestinian people. We in Ireland know all too well what oppression feels like, and at times like this we cannot help but be reminded of our own tragedies and our own atrocities. But at times like this, words are not enough. We need action, and we need action now from the international community. For the international community cannot stand idly by and allow this slaughter to continue. Israel must be held account for its actions. Israel must be compelled to comply with the numerous international resolutions which it regularly flaunts. Without immediate sanctions or diplomatic retribution, we fear that many more innocent civilians will be put at risk in the coming days. We have called on the Irish government to take the lead internationally. There can be no impunity for the barbaric state violence directed at peaceful protesters. We have called on the government in Dublin to expel the Israeli diplomatic mission from Ireland. And we once again call for the formal recognition of the State of Palestine.
I'm actually incredibly sad and angry to be back here just days after the demonstration commemorating the Palestinian catastrophe. Back here with more dead, more wounded, and more despicable colonial justifications from Western states, reminding us of how worthless Palestinian life is to our leaders. We cannot expect any better from the very institutions that justified the enslavement of sub-Saharan Africans and the subjugation, exploitation and genocide of the global south in the name of supposedly Great Britain. That responsibility is on our shoulders to force them to do better. It is our government that is literally continuing to provide the ammunition and the green light to senselessly murder Palestinians in Gaza.
Greetings. I bring solidarity from those Jews who stand up for human rights and who unequivocally condemn the murderous crimes of the Israeli government and the Israeli military. Many Jewish people oppose these crimes, and those who commit them do not speak for us and will never speak for us. We speak for ourselves. We are the Jews who say stop the murders, end the blockade, end the occupation, end discrimination, free the Palestinians so they can live with dignity.
The people of Gaza are being abused and slandered, being told by Israeli and US governments that protesters are to blame. It's an uneasy echo of Sharpeville back in the 1960s. There's no doubt there was an intent to kill by the IDF snipers when snipers use live rounds to target civilian protesters. There's an intent, no doubt about it, when snipers use live rounds to target journalists clearly identified in blue vests attempting to report on these atrocities. Only last month, 2 Palestinian journalists, clearly identifiable, were killed by Israeli snipers and at least another 12 injured. I stand today in solidarity and say the international community must stand with the people of Palestine.
Friends, the killings in Palestine are not new. They have been going on since 1948. In those early days, they didn't admit that 750,000 Palestinians were expelled, that there were rapes, that there were burning of villages, till it was exposed by Israeli historians themselves. Then they admitted it and said, yes, we had to do it because without doing this there would have been no Israel. Thus accepting very clearly that the state was based on murder, expulsions and torture. And it's been going on and on and on, and it's now reaching its culmination, where a majority of the population of Israel supports the IDF, have no doubt about it. They're very good, honorable Israeli Jews who don't. But a majority of the population supports this. And they support it because the governments they elect, like Netanyahu's government and other governments before him, support it too. This is what, in 2013, Naftali Bennett, who is currently the education minister in Netanyahu's government, said: catch a terrorist and kill them. And you know the definition of terrorist is quite large. When the National Security Advisor objected, Bennett said, I've killed lots of Arabs in my life and there's no problem with that. This is the education minister of Israel. So what are they expected to learn? The kids going to schools in that country, that it's justified to kill Arabs, that Arabs are Untermensch in Israel today, that Arabs are not humans, and target their children. Why should we target their children? The leader of the Settlers Party made it very clear. The Israel's Minister of Justice, Ayelet Shaked, put on her Facebook page an article by Uri Elitzer, a settler leader, saying we shouldn't just target terrorists, we should kill their mothers as well. Kill the mothers of the martyrs who send them to hell with flowers and kisses. They should follow their sons. Nothing would be more just. They should go, as should the physical homes in which the snakes were raised. Otherwise, more little snakes will be raised here. Now, why the hell isn't the BBC reporting this? Why aren't they?
It was a massacre in cold blood of dozens of unarmed, innocent Palestinians by the Israeli government. And shame on those who victim blame and trying to deflect responsibility from the Israeli government for the crime against humanity committed yesterday. But let us also be clear, the blood is on the hands, yes, of Netanyahu, but it is also splattered on the hands of Donald Trump himself. He holds partial responsibility for this massacre. But it's not just him either, is it? No. It's every single government which arms the Israeli government. And that includes the British government themselves across the road. Blood is on the hands of Theresa May's government. They are complicit in the crimes being committed in Gaza and being committed in occupied Palestine. And we will hold them responsible.
But the reality is, and what I want to leave you with today is, Palestinians will continue to resist. They will continue to fight. And what we have to do here is we have to stand with them, as you all have done by coming to this rally today. It is really, really important for people in Gaza and in the West Bank that they know that populations around the world see this for what it is and stand with them. And it means a lot to them, trust me. So it's really important that you came out here today. We must also demand, as others have said, an independent investigation into this, accountability, and we must demand that our government stops arming Israel. And we must continue to stand by the Palestinians and support them in their fight for their rights. Thank you.
Your attendance today is also vital. It's vital to show the huge opposition in this country to Trump's provocative decision to move the United States of America's embassy to Jerusalem, because that move moves us and the Middle East even further from a peaceful solution. It gives a green light to the government of Israel to continue violating the human rights of Palestinians. And when Donald Trump comes here in July, we will make clear what we think of his inflammatory actions. We need a government that pursues an ethical foreign policy. We need a government with the moral courage to be prepared to suspend arms sales to the government of Israel. We need a government that supports international law. We need a government that will push for the UN resolutions for Israel to end its occupation to actually be made reality. We need a government that will push for the rights of the Palestinian people to have a state. Under Jeremy Corbyn, we in this country will have such a government. Thank you.
Yesterday in Gaza, as every week for the last 7 weeks, thousands of Palestinian refugees, the descendants of those expelled in 1948 and 1967, protested in assertion of what is their inalienable right, the right of every refugee, grounded in international law and in natural justice, the right to return from the place from where you have been expelled or you have fled. And how did Israel respond? It responded by committing another massacre. 60 Palestinians killed, 110 killed over the last 7 weeks, 10,000 injured. You have all seen the videos. Palestinians shot whilst they knelt in prayer. Palestinians shot in the back whilst they walked away from the border. A Palestinian shot, many Palestinians shot, as they walked slowly towards the border, carrying, as many of you do today, the flag of their homeland. Yesterday, 6 children were killed, including an 8-month-old baby, dying from tear gas inhalation when the encampment she was in with her parents, in her parents' arms, was tear gas hundreds of meters from the border. So we are here not just to protest a historical Nakba, but an ongoing Nakba. The Nakba that sees Gaza turned into a place that the UN says is not fit for human habitation. That sees the West Bank concreted over with roads and towns built for Israelis only, while Palestinian homes are destroyed and their land stolen. That sees Palestinians expelled from their capital city, Jerusalem, and sees the Palestinians as citizens of Israel denied equal rights under the law. Now, earlier today, I sat in the Sky News studio and I was asked a question: why do Palestinians protest when they know they are going to be killed? Well, you know the answer. When you have had your basic rights deprived, protest is not just a right, it is an obligation. And we too have obligations. Evil prevails when good people do nothing. We are not called, like our Palestinian sisters and brothers, to walk carrying the Palestinian flag into the line of fire. But we are called on, in the UK, to show solidarity and to do everything in our power to change the policies of our government so Israel is held to account. So I want you to do two things for me. First of all, I want you to give money today, before you leave, find a bucket, pay whatever you can. Pay for the costs of the demonstrations that are to come. But secondly, I want you to go onto the PSC website. I want you to sign a letter that is going out to every MP. We've had 10,000 people sign that letter. We need 100,000. We need more. We are calling for an urgent UN investigation. We are calling for an end to the siege on Gaza. We are calling for a blockade, an arms trade with Israel. On Friday, we stood outside the Israeli embassy and we delivered a clear message to the Israeli government. The people of Palestine will never give up their legitimate resistance to your oppression, and we will never cease our solidarity with them. Today we stand outside of Downing Street and we give a message to the British government. The responsibility for the deaths in Gaza rests with Israel. It is its soldiers that are doing the killing. It is Israel's hand that is on the trigger. But all of those who are complicit, who support by their inaction what Israel is doing, who fund the illegality of Israel's actions, are supplying the gun that is in Israel's hands. So we say to Theresa May, you are responsible, end your complicity with Israel's war crimes. And we, the citizens of the UK who care about justice and human rights, we vow we will never cease our campaigning, our lobbying and our boycotting until the Palestinian people have what is their birthright: freedom, justice and equality in their historic homeland. Free, free Palestine! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Thank you and safe journey home. Free, free! Palestine! 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 Free, free!